Right, we are going to show you how to do a bit of bodywork, but before you say anything about this particular job, you need to watch the other video that I've done on why we are doing it this way. We have like over nearly an inch of fillers on here, which is just absolutely crazy. So go check the other video out to understand why I did the lap joint, why I did what I did in this particular panel, because the issues we are facing. So, I'm still sticking up for the lap joint, even though I know I'm going to get grief for it. But I would class this as my quick, rough job, okay? This is the job I do for people when, you know, it's just because of what it is, they just want a good job, but, you know, quicker and easier and cheaper as possible, but still having a good job. You know, strong, welded properly, repaired properly, etc. What I'm about to use, I don't have a lot of experience with. I'm going to be using the fiberglass fillers initially to fill all this in because of the huge line of fillers we've got here. Even in my quick jobs, I don't use fiberglass fillers because normally you use fiberglass fillers when you are caking fillers on. I don't like caking fillers on. Like I said, with this job, we have these two bits perfectly flat. You would only need a tiny bit of fillers. And if I went back in and welded this line, we would have hardly any fillers. I mean, an absolute skim of fillers on this. It really wouldn't be a problem. And if you look at my other video, you'll see exactly what joint I used, how to treat it and how it's going to last. And why I used it for the strength, because look at this panel now. I cannot push this panel in. I'm moving the whole vehicle. If I was to do a slightly different joint, this could have just been, you know, tin canning absolutely everywhere. This is absolutely solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm a bit afraid, because I've never really used fiberglass fillers. Look, I've used ordinary fillers. I know what ordinary fillers does, so I know fiberglass fillers is more or less the same, but I just don't use it. This just feels so wrong. Well, everything has its place. Fiberglass fillers has its place, but it's normally when people are just caking shit on because they're bodging the living shit out of it. So, same as fillers, golf ball size of fillers, pea size of hardener. I'm going to need a lot more fiberglass fillers than this. I don't know if I should just do it all at once. God. I still reckon you can do cheap jobs without having to cake fillers on. Hopefully in the last video I've proven that fact. You just don't need to put as much fillers that's on this. The time and effort it takes to put all the fillers on that's on this van at the minute would be quicker and easier to do it properly. Putting all that fillers on and shaping it, you know, it takes a long time. It's not easy. Why not just repair it properly? Even mixing this stuff is difficult. Just not used to it. I would use different fillers for the first filler over there. I've obviously, of course I've used fiberglass fillers before, but not in this kind of quantity for one repair. It's going to feel so wrong. It's going to feel so wrong. Trying to keep it localized just to the area that I want. keep the shape also in the panel, which is important. Problem is, you put so, and this is even with fillers, because I have to put so much on, I can't do it all in one go. There's just too much, it's moving around too much. So I'm gonna have to do it in a couple of goes, which even in itself doesn't feel right. When you're spreading any type of fillers, you want to keep as much as the shape as you can, because otherwise you are sanding more and more and more. And the more you sand, the more time it takes. Like, it's gone into this little groove here, so you're as well off getting it out of the groove now, because it's easier to pull that out than it is to try and sand it out. I'm a bit thick on here, and I don't want to put it down there because that's a perfect panel line there. Nothing. I'll be sanding a lot of this off. Right, I think that's going to do me for the first fill, I think. Just trying to build up this corner, because it's fiberglass, it just sticks to itself and pulls itself out when you put a lot on. Fillers kind of does the same, but not as bad. That needs to be in there. Yeah, I'm just making this worse now. I'm gonna have to stop. Right. The first fill. What I might do is I might just quickly off camera quickly sand that once it dries, put another fill on, and then show you me sanding it, because otherwise it's the same stuff over and over and over again. One thing I do want to do is get some fiberglass inside here. And again, it's good to use your fingers in some ways, because you can shape it really nicely with fingers sometimes, and getting it in places the spreader can't. There we go. And then as a final one, just let that go down. There we go. Right. I'm happy with that for the first fill. A really handy thing to do is get some thinners now and a rag, and that will all come off, and it'll keep your spreader nice and clean for the next one, which is important. Let's just get off some of that there. Doesn't it look beautiful, people? Okay, that was the first quick sand. It's really cold in here, so this is taking forever to dry. So I was going to maybe stay a bit later and get more done, but I'm just going to put another thin coat on now. But what is very important to do, because the problem is when you try and put too much of anything on, it just spreads it and moves it around. It's just too awkward. Just put it on, leave it, and then, you know, fill it again. What is important is don't just keep piling filler on filler. I've got all the shapes in here that I need, so I know when I put the next fillers on, if I put my scraper in here, I'm more or less getting the shape, you know, very close. If you just keep piling fillers and fillers and fillers on, you'll still find you've got huge dips and troughs and everything, but it's just a lot longer to sand down. So I'm just going to put another skim coating of this stuff on, and then I'm gonna wait for tomorrow, and then I'm gonna, you know, kind of put some normal stuff on. But what is important is to have a good airline. So when you do the first fill, you can see all these little holes that have come off. You blow all that out with the airline, because if you fill over this and you leave all these little holes full of dust, the fill is not going to stick to it. And what will happen is it'll look great at first and it'll be brilliant. You spray it and everything, and then especially if you're doing, like, it doesn't really matter on this van, I could leave these little holes in, because when I do the Schultz on here, it's that thick, it's going to fill up all them anyway. This really doesn't matter. To be honest, I could even maybe get away with leaving that. I mean, you know, you will see it, but it wouldn't be nowhere near as bad as it looks. But yeah, especially if you're doing something proper, you put all that on, it's just going to come off. This is also the downside of putting too much of anything on. You get these like little air bubbles in it. So let's see if we can just get this on and then maybe spread it. Hopefully I've mixed enough. I think I mixed too much last time. I might not have mixed enough this time. Get my line back, keep my line. I've got to be careful I don't go above that, which I've just done. That cannot go above that, because I'm not going anywhere above that. You can see how I've kind of got the line. Again, we'll get that better once we fill it, but you need to get the general shape with it, otherwise you never get anywhere. It looks worse than the first time. But we just really want to get, you know, 98% of it filled with this, and the other 2% we'll use. But it's also good that it is not really important with this van. If you want to practice, the best thing to do is practice on something like this, which you'll say using Schultz afterwards, so it's not vitally important, but you get a lot of practice on how to do things, how to weld and everything like that. But you can kind of hide it with the Schultz afterwards if it's not perfect, before you start, you know, going on to kind of more expensive things and things that, you know, really do make all the difference. Right, I'm happy enough with that. Again, I don't think I'm going to be using this again. I think the 2 fills should be enough, but maybe when I come to sand that, maybe I might have to use it again. I don't think so. I don't think I'm really going to waste too much time on this, because, you know, it's not really vitally important on this particular model of van. Here we go. Right, the trick with the sander. If this was a proper car, classic car, I will not be using a DA like this. I'll be using a sanding block, and I'd mostly be doing it by hand, because a sanding block, a longer sanding block, you can get a really smooth panel. I've shown that in another video. With the DA, the issue is you can get rid of a lot of material because it's quite small. You can dig in and get it very wavy. It doesn't matter on this panel. But when you do use a DA, don't be tempted to turn it like this and start digging in. Yes, you'll get rid of that material a lot quicker, but what you've done is you just put a load of waves in it. Keep it flat. It will take longer, but once it starts coming down, it'll be nice and flat. I've just dug in there because of the angle, like I would dig in there like that, but on this flat bit, I'm not. I'm just keeping nice and flat. And yes, I should be wearing a mask, but I am in a very well ventilated place. Obviously you can't see this, but this is feeling really, really nice. It looks like it's weird because of all the different paint layers and stuff you can see, but I mean, again, for what this is, for the van, absolutely perfect. Now, one thing I do want to show you is this looks kind of okay. Watch all the little things that appear. Hopefully the camera showed that. So many of them appear, it's unbelievable. Our next skim of fillers, which we'll just use normal fillers, that will cover all that. But like I said, honestly now, what I could do is I could just leave that now and I could spray, obviously do all my preparation on the metal, but I could just put the Schultz directly on top of that and you would not see any of this. You would just not see any of it. I'm not going to do it. I am going to use some fillers only because I just basically want to show you. And the thing I've just noticed is I've gone too far, so I'm going to have to paint that in myself. I'm not going to be able to Schultz that. What a tit. Unless I do something kind of like that maybe. Just start going up at the back, which I think I will. That's what I'll do. I'll put a nice line going up at the back. Because I've gone too far. This is 80 grit sandpaper, by the way, in case you were wondering. I use the old sheet because that's all got clogged up. Always like to blow. I've had this for years. When was it made? 2004. I got it new and it's still absolutely perfect. And it is a DA and it also has different, so it's dual action, but it also you can turn the motor up and down. Now, I'm really happy with that. Like I said, honestly, I now know I could just very easily, I could, I could just paint that now straight away. But we'll put another skim of fillers on. So the fillers, I'm going to put a full skim. I'm going to put a skim all the way to there, and most will come all the way down there. So I'm just showing you what you would do if you were kind of doing it properly, and then you would just fade it out. The fillers down here will be just, most of it's going to be gone. It's just going to be really, really thin. Here was the actual sticker of the panel, so I should have just took that off another way. When you sand it down, it all clumps up and comes together. And you do have to be careful. You do this on a proper panel, and you sanding that down, you can put a lot of heat into the panel and warp it. So be careful. But again, I'm not bothered about this one. But because I'm touching it with my hands, which you're not really supposed to do it, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to rub all this down, get all the oil off, and then we'll put a full skim of fillers on. I'm mostly just going to do one skim of fillers. Again, it's not going to be perfect. You might want to do a couple of different skims if it was something you're more bothered about. But again, we just need to do this, get it done, get in and out, and be happy. So let me get that done. Let me mix up the fillers. I'm not going to get into fillers at the minute in the sense of, because there is just so many different types. There is like a base filler, there's a medium, there's different ways you can sand it, there's different fine sand, this sand, there's finishing fillers. Look, it is absolutely crazy out there. There's also some fillers that I've just recently heard of, and I've used it, and it's brilliant. Of all the little pinholes, you just put this on. It's not filler putty, because filler putty sinks. This stuff is single pack, and it doesn't sink. It's amazing. But again, we do not need it for this vehicle. It's not going to concern us. But believe me, it is not just a simple case of saying you need fillers anymore. There is so many different types depending on what job you are doing. It's good because it really, the different types of fillers out there is fantastic. But it's a thing now that it's so difficult to keep up. Because I don't do this every single day. You kind of get a little bit behind. I still keep up, but you still kind of get behind. So yeah, like everything, it's never easy anymore. This definitely isn't finishing fillers. I can just tell. But look, for what we need, it's going to be. You can get onion boards to mix your fillers a lot easier than using pieces of cardboard, but again, cardboard is free if you've got it lying around. Onion boards, they're not free, but they're good. Right, shouldn't really be filling in this weather. It's a bit too cold for it really, to be fair. And I can even tell this fillers isn't spreading nicely because it's cold. But we'll get over it. We've no choice now. Oh, I'm not even pointing the camera up. Spreader is too small as well. Should have bought my proper spreaders. But hindsight 2020 and all that. Angling the fillet or the scraper, so I'm only on the top. Get rid of all that because I don't need it. Now we need to keep our shape here though. See, I've created a bit of a divot there. And then I need this to be our line, which is there. Oh, why is my hand gone? And we got our body line back. Once I sand to that, that's nice and flat, we'll get that body line back. this is a bit messy here. Try and tidy it up, but I don't hold out much hope. Ah yeah, we got it back. Now, there we go. Now, like I said, if I was doing this properly, or you know, wanting to get it more perfect, there is nothing wrong with what I've just done there. I can even clearly see there's still a bit of a dent there, but I'm not really that bothered for this, because I know putting that on there now is just going to cause me more problems. I'm not going to do it. But I can see that there is a dent there, and there's going to be low spots there. But anyway, I might refill this again. I don't know, I'll see. But if I don't, what I'm going to be showing you when I sand this is the same thing. It's just repeat the procedure. It'll be the same kind of thing over and over again. So let this dry and sand it again. I'm going to put 120 sandpaper on it this time. And again, I'm not going to go any lower than 120, because for the Schultz, if you were undercoating this, you'd go to 320, but 120 is going to be fine for the Schultz to give it a good key. So that's what I'm going to do with this. Right, it's getting very late, very, very cold. I want to get this done. Now you can see really, really quickly just what that has done. Again, for what it is, feels nice, but I would not be using the DA. Like I said, look at my video. I'm trying to think, I used that on a couple of videos, but I used it when I was doing my van, the big sanding block by hand, because it's just a million times better to get in a panel flat. Believe it or not, one of the other worst things to do is sand by hand with nothing underneath your fingers. Because when you look at your fingers, there's a ridge, and you'll put that mark into your fillers. But again, for what this is, it don't matter. So if you're watching this video to want to know how to sand and fill, this isn't the video, because this is really not the way of doing it. But this is a good way to start. So that is really close now. One thing I will do is just, I don't really need to, but I'm just going to fill this area, this area, this area. There's a few kind of little spots in there. And again, the fillers I'm using isn't designed for this. There is different fillers, but I'll get away with it for what I need. But that now really is very smooth. There's no waves in it. It's really nice. It's just a shame there's just fillers everywhere. It's a real shame. Right, if you're filling cars and you constantly keep seeing these little like bubbles everywhere, you know, low spots, it's not necessarily you're doing something wrong, but it's more your fillers. You have different fillers for different stages of your repair. Like the fillers that I'm using now isn't really designed for what I'm doing, but I'll get away with it. You have other fillers out there that will be better for all these little kind of pinholes and stuff. This is where it just gets, you know, very expensive. You need 3 or 4 different types of fillers, and you know, but believe me, if you do the job kind of properly, you can just use, I've done jobs before, even what I would class as not a proper job, where I've just used finishing fillers because I had to put so little on. You know, you don't need to cake your fillers on, because when you cake your fillers on, this is the issues you get. This is going to be good enough. I'm not worried about all the other little holes. Wait for that to dry. Do our final sand, 120. I'm going to tape, I'll do that. I'll get my tape and I'll make my line. We are going to have to go up slightly. That's too much. Not going up that much. But we'll see where we need to be. We need to be about there, I think. Right. Where we need to be, so we'll have a little bit of a strike going up. It's going to be white anyway, so you're not going to really see it. So it's not really a big deal, but I was just went a little bit too high. Right, all I want to get done tonight is just get this last little bit sanded off. I want to get my etch primer on here, and I want to get my undercoat on. That's all I'm going to do for tonight. Again, shouldn't really be spraying in this weather. This is what traps moisture, this is what causes you issues. I'm going to heat up the panel before I do it, but again, that can cause different issues. So you really do need to be careful. Right, I've heated up my panel with one of them heat lamps. I've rubbed it all down, and I've now panel wiped it. So you don't want to be touching. You always want to be wearing gloves when you're doing body work anyway. The problem with body work is to do a job at 90% and then to go to 100% is not hours, it's days. That's the problem. You know, if you would say, well, it'll only take an extra hour to do the extra 10%, okay, fair enough. But no, for me to do this with no fillers whatsoever, you're talking days more, not hours more. So that's the problem with body work. Anyway, heated up this panel. This is just etch primer. It's bare steel. So only on the bare steel you need to put this. That's it. All I need to do, oh, is it there? All I need to do with the etch primer. No more. Job's a good one. Alright, if the etch primer dried off, yes, look, I know I should be masking up this wheel, but I've left all the sanding dust over it, so that's nothing's going to stick. I'm going to angle the spray this way, it's going to be fine. This is not, like I said, a proper job anyway, because if it was, I wouldn't be using this. I'd be using 2-pack primer. You know, I'd be using proper stuff, but because, again, keep coming back to the Schultz/stone chip, that's really going to put a thick, heavy layer of protection on this. That's why I can kind of get away with using these, because otherwise, using this on this, give it a couple of weeks, it'll just come off. You know, you need to do it properly. And the trick with rattle cans, just like anything, is thin coats. Because you try and lay it on, what happens with this stuff is all the kind of the thinners and stuff come to the surface and it just starts reacting. It's terrible. Right, we're all good to go. You can see it's still wet. So what we're going to do is, that's now done, but now what I've got to do on the next video, which I'll show you a quick sneak peek, we've got to repair all this. Look at that, we've cut it all out, ready to go. So I've got to make this box section, make this panel, I've just got to make everything back there. I wasn't expecting it to be that bad. So yeah, I've got to do that. But that's that basically done. So the next video is going to be making them panels by hand, because obviously we bought that panel. But the video before that, we made the inside panel by hand. But as always, hope it helps. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Don't forget, links up here, links down below. But most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted.